All right, we are going to go ahead and kick things off with our very first speaker. We're kicking things off for retail here with the one and only Tom Davenport. Such an honor to have him with us here today. He is the President's Distinguished Professor of Information Technology and Management at Babson College. He's a visiting professor at Oxford University's Said School of Business, a fellow of the MIT Initiative on the Digital Economy, and senior advisor to Deloitte's Analytics and AI practice. His most recent book is The AI Advantage from MIT Press, and he's written 20 books and over 300 articles for Harvard Business Review, MIT Sloan Management Review, and many other publications. He has been named one of the world's top 25 consultants by Consulting Magazine, one of the 100 most influential people in IT by Ziff Davis Magazine, and one of the world's top 50 business school professors by Fortune Magazine. Amazing. Tom Davenport, I'm going to go ahead and bring you up on our virtual stage here. Welcome to the Datacated Conference.
Thanks, Kate. Happy to be here.
Absolutely. Really an honor to have you here today. I'm looking in at the comments. Everyone's ready to get this started. Randy Bean is here, the one and only Tom Davenport. Yes. Awesome. I'm gonna hop off the stage here for you, Tom, and I'm gonna let you take it away for 10 minutes.
Okay, can you see my screen?
Yep, I've shared your screen. It's up there.
Okay, so when Kate asked me to talk about retail for a little while, I thought, well, I could do a kind of a bland overview of everything that's happening, or I could jump into a specific sort of use case, and I thought the latter might be a little bit more fun for my 15 minutes of Datacated fame. So this is based on some work that I did a few years ago on next best offers, or sometimes people call it next best actions. And while it's oriented to retail, it could actually be used in a wide variety of other industries. I know I've done some work with Morgan Stanley, which has a next best action system for investing ideas in their wealth management business. So it has a pretty broad range of applications. I just thought it might be useful because it, in a way, illustrates how much data and how complex it can be to create one of these applications if they're going to work very well. So next best offers are targeted offers, or as I said, actions for customers based on what they bought in the past, other attributes that you know about them. And then good offers are also based on the purchasing context and knowing the attributes of the products or services that you're making the offer of. And of course, this could be products or services or information, or you can offer relationships in a way that sort of people you may know. Suggestions on LinkedIn and Facebook and so on are a form of offer. They can be delivered over multiple alternative channels, and there are some retailers, not very many, I think Nordstrom was the most prominent one, who believed in delivering offers through a human salesperson. I think they call that clienteling, but that's increasingly rare. Or decreasingly common. And typically we determine the offer through technology, most commonly now machine learning. Some companies still use business rules, but there may also be a human filter, again, if it's a kind of a high value item and you can afford for a human to say, does this really make sense? So this is my sort of next best offer framework, and it sort of shows how complex it can be and kind of suggests that it's always ongoing. You're kind of always refining your offers. And so companies that have done this for a while, for example, CVS Extra Care program, also known as the world's longest register tapes program, say, you're just constantly thinking about what we can do to refine our offers and learn from what people have responded to in the past. So I'll go through each of these very quickly just to give you a sense of sort of what's involved. So if you are, I think, going to do a good job at this, you have to think about it strategically. You have to kind of align the offers that you plan to make with what your customers want, maybe different executives, product managers, and so on have in mind for you to kind of build the business of. And depending on what kind of technology you're using, you may create a hypothesis to define your variables and customer attributes to drive offers. Or if you're using some form of automated machine learning, you just may say, okay, we've got a bunch of variables or features on our customer, and just figure out which ones really drive an effective prediction of what offer they will respond to. So ideally, we know a lot about our customers, their demographics, or maybe something about their psychographics. Certainly their purchase history and patterns is the single most important bit of information for a machine learning based loyalty program. And that is typically obtained through a loyalty program, but even retailers who don't have loyalty programs say that they can get 50 to 75% of customer identities through credit cards. So you could associate purchase history with an individual customer that way too. It would be good to know, sort of what they've done recently, maybe what they've looked at online, their channel preferences for how you deliver the offer, and any previous expressions of interest. So you can sort of see just from customer data alone that this can get fairly extensive and complex. So also, I think one of the things that many companies don't recognize is it's important to sort of know the attributes of your product that you plan to offer. There may be some financial considerations, calculating offer profitability. Maybe you want to collaborate with some other providers. There have been a number of banks that did offers, and what are you going to do? What are you going to offer as a bank? As slightly reduced interest level on a mortgage or something like that. So they typically do deals on other programs. Bank of America deals was an example of that. Company Cardlytics specialized in offering you restaurant discounts and services and product discounts. Then the attributes of each offer and the products associated with it are quite critical, particularly if you're not using machine learning, where you can sort of look through a lot of different features and find out what might drive a purchase. But Zappos, for example, is quite good at offers, and they concluded that in order to do it well, they had to classify the attributes of their products to say, okay, if you bought, polka dot shoes in the past, maybe you buy polka dot shoes in the future if we get a new pair of polka dot shoes. And so in order to make that work, we have to classify our products as to whether they are polka dot or not. And, maybe now you could do that with deep learning, but at the time they were using, I think, two different departments did product attribute classification. It's not widely known, but particularly in clothing, manufacturers don't really give you much in the way of product attributes. You might get a color, but that's typically about it. And what products or services are associated with previous purchases, obviously knowing that someone's bought polka dot in the past would make it likely you'd want to offer polka dot in the future. You probably want to know something about the purchase context. So is the customer near you? We've been talking about this for a while. You can do it if you have an app and the customer gives you permission and they happen to have their smartphone with them. But it hasn't really worked out all that well yet, I wouldn't say. Online behavior is easier to monitor. social network behavior. You can start to monitor, this is, I think, a version of collaborative filtering. If your friends are buying something, you're likely to buy it too. Then comes, I guess, what we call the core of the next best offer process if we're analytically oriented, which I suspect most of you are. And that might be a machine learning model to predict offer response. It could be rule-based. Some of the early offers were done with rules, but obviously kind of rules run out of steam after about 100 different rules. It could be, if a customer has expressed a pattern preference like polka dot, send them a polka dot offer. That's a very simple kind of rule that you could offer. But I think machine learning is both more precise if you have the data to train the models, and more likely to be able to consider a variety of features or variables. Once you have that model, you've got to typically integrate it with some transactional system, a CRM system or an e-commerce system, something that is actually going to, maybe a marketing automation system that's going to make the offer. And you have to time and sequence offers when the customers can respond and would want it. So I remember once talking about this to Bank of America, and they said we were trying next best offers of mortgage propositions, and they put them on the little slips that you get if you ask for your balance to be printed out in an ATM machine. And they said, they thought what a brilliant idea this was. And then they found out that it extended the wait time, if there was a line, by 30 seconds or so while people read this offer, and they didn't tend to respond very much either. So there's, I think, a very important feedback and adaptation process as well. Obviously, machine learning models don't last forever, and so you have to monitor them for drift. Now, of course, you can do a lot of that with MLOps programs if you are so equipped. And I think, if you're going to place a lot of reliance on machine learning models in your business and their kind of key assets, then I think MLOps makes a lot of sense as a way to maintain the value of those assets. You design new offers if necessary based on the customer response. Obviously, new products and services keep coming up in organizations that you may want to offer. You want to basically treat each offer as a test, or at least as some sort of learning opportunity. And you may, the rules of thumb even of offers may evolve over time. Talking to CVS about their extra care offers, they had originally believed that people would respond to cross-category offers. If you bought toothpaste, then you might be interested in mouthwash. But it turned out that people generally only responded to offers of the same things that they'd already bought. So they changed that general strategy or rule of thumb to emphasize that more. So those are basically my slides. I just wanted to give you a little nugget of something that can be done with analytics and now AI. Maybe you'll find it sobering that there are that many steps, but like anything with data and analytics, if you want to get a lot of value, you have to give it a lot of thought, commit to it over time, and constantly basically revise whatever you're doing as the world changes. So with that, I will stop. I don't know, Kate, I think I have 2 minutes, maybe, if anybody has any questions or comments.
Absolutely, Tom. And yes, we have many, many questions and comments. We'll take at least one or two, given the time, right? But thank you so much for the presentation. Really insightful. I'm glad that you actually chose a specific topic in retail versus, like you mentioned, trying to cover the whole thing in 10 minutes. And I think we really got some really good insights here. We'll take a question here from Gordon, and he's asking, what was the most surprising, not intuitive, next best action that you discovered or witnessed?
Well, I would say the most interesting thing in talking a lot with Morgan Stanley over the years about their next best actions for investing offers. I always thought that the most important aspect of it was the actual, the quality of the recommendation, that the client would think, oh, this is something that I really ought to do. And, it's based on machine learning, so it must be a very intelligent offer. But according to Jeff McMillan, who's the head of analytics for the wealth management business, it's really more the kind of client engagement that the process creates, that your advisor is looking out for you and that they're paying attention to the markets on your behalf, and they can send out these offers with about 45 seconds of work. It used to take several hours to figure out an investment idea for a client. So it makes the client feel like the financial advisor is much more engaged, and apparently that's what really drives business for Morgan Stanley.
Oh, interesting. Thank you for sharing that. We'll take one more question here. We've got one from William, and he's asking, does the feedback loop being created by suggesting products hinder future ability to see new patterns?
Machine learning is based on the past, and it's often you get in you might say you get in a sort of analytical statistical rut in a way, unless you are willing every once in a while, depending on how fast your business changes, the frequency would vary, but you might want to sort of open things up. Do we want to collect more data? Do we want to totally retrain our models and start from scratch? So yeah, I think that is a good point. You can get into a rut with these offers. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, Tom, it sounds like that is all the time that we have today, but I really, really appreciate you taking the time. Really great presentation. You have a lot of comments and questions still sort of flowing in here that if you had the time at some point, if you wanted to jump in on LinkedIn and answer some of those via messages, please feel free to do so. And I especially appreciate you taking the time because it is your wife's birthday today. So happy birthday to your wife. Enjoy the day. Thank you again for doing this.
Okay. See you later.